the embroidered pincushion, this is how we're going to construct it. I've kept mine in the hoop until I'm ready to use it. I'm just going to set that aside for one moment. So I'll pop that on here. You're going to cut a piece of wadding, and I don't know that you can see this, 5.5 inches square. So that's how I've done that, 5.5 inches square. You're going to cut 2 pieces of backing, and that's going to be, if you do it, at least 6 by 4, so that's 2 pieces. Put them right sides together down the long side, the 6-inch side, and we're going to sew from the end down 2 inches or 2.25, stop, reverse, then we're going to sew from here to here, leaving a gap of about 2.5 inches. Okay, so if I just put that to the side and move you over to the machine. So I'm going to lower my presser foot, lower my needle into the fabric, and I'm going to do a couple of stitches of reverse, and I'm going to follow the line. Take the pin out, do not sew over a pin as you'll break your needle. Reverse a few stitches. Bring the fabric up. I don't break the threads, you can do, you can just move them out of the way. Lower the presser foot, take your pin out to where you've marked. Lower your needle. Do a few stitches and then a few stitches reverse. And to the end, and do a little reverse at the end as well. The reason we're doing a reverse on this is because we don't want it to come apart while we're constructing it. So snip off, and then at this stage I snip both those threads that I've trailed across. Sorry, you can't see. So get your threads out of the way because they do get in the way. We're now going to open it out, and we're going to open up this seam, and you will see, if I finger press it, we have a gap. And the reason I've done this bigger than what our finished size is going to be is because I want you to make sure we've got the right size and it doesn't come up too small. So I'll set that aside for a moment. I'm going to undo this and remove my hoop. Set that aside. We'd already marked just an area around our embroidery, and that was just so that we could get it centralised to the hoop. We have our piece of lining on the back. Now I'm going to take you to the iron. I'm going to show you how to get rid of the friction marks, the friction pen marks. So if I move you around again. So while we've got that there, and the iron's on, I will press. So press it open. On the reverse side, press out everything in your sample. And what I tend to do is I run the iron down the back of the stitches, just lightly, but make sure that you've got it all nice and flat. Pressing is very, very important to keep things as flat as we can because obviously fabric moves. Now I'm going to turn it over and just have a very quick look. Now I'm not ironing any stitches on the front. I'm just going up to see I've got no marks. No, so we're fine. We're absolutely fine with that. I'll set the iron aside. I've cut this to size, which is my wadding. And the reason we're going to put this on the back is because when we make the pincushion, we want to be able to have it so it's nice and smooth on top, so it's not lumpy. If you stuff it, it can become lumpy, but if you've already got a smooth piece of wadding, then all the stuffing will remain this side of that wadding. So just to set the wadding, and really you should do this in an area, if you've got any fabric glue, just give it a little spray to hold it. Centralise your wadding over the top. Now you've already measured this as 5.5 inches square. Let's cut it following your wadding line. If you decide to cut it with your rotary cutter on your board, then use the underside of your board. Don't use the side you're always using with your rotary cutter, because it will create grooves and the wadding will just sit in the grooves and it's hard to get out. So now we have our top. I'm going to take out my tacking stitches if there's any left. As I don't want them. Then right sides together, I'm going to centralise that over there. Turn it over, so we've centralised it. Now I'm going to trim this to size, so you create a better pattern for it, and it's quite quick to do. When I stitch around, I'm going to stitch to each corner. It's going to go all the way around, but at each corner I'm going to stop just shy of the corner, and I'm going to angle a stitch across instead of pivoting and doing a straight stitch. It creates a better corner when you're stuffing. That sounds good, doesn't it? Creates a better corner when you're stuffing. Now I'm going to turn this over because it's better to see it from this side. So I'm going to pin into the 4 corners. And that holds it nice and flat. One last pin. And I've got big pins here, really just to demonstrate. So there we are. Now I'm going to move you over to the sewing machine again. I'm going to start on this bit here. And as I sew, I'm going to use at least 1/4 inch seam or the edge of my foot. So needle in, pin out down to the first one. You don't need to reverse because when we come back round we can go over. So as I get to that corner, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to do one more stitch, but then I'm going to turn it at an angle, just at a small angle like that. One stitch and then pivot to come down here. So take the pin out, come down to the bottom, one more stitch, one at an angle across the corner, and then straight down again. Take the pin out, one at an angle, and I'm using my balance wheel to turn it. Come up to the top, nearly finished. One at an angle. Now if you don't have a sewing machine, then you do the same principle all the way round, but do a back stitch. And you only need to use a single thread. Don't try using a double because it will get tangled up. Now we'll come off and I'll show you how I finished off. So as you can see, I've just gone up 3 or 4 stitches over there to create a finish. So I'm going to snip all the fabrics, all the threads, don't leave the threads in. And then at this point, to make it again even better, peel back your wadding, because you've only just tacked it down with the fabric spray, or you can tack it if you haven't got any fabric spray, and peel it back and cut the corner, but don't cut the stitches. Okay, then a little bit further away you're going to cut the fabric. So do that on all four corners and then cut the fabric. And this is to reduce bulk in that corner that we're turning. If you want to go round and cut and trim down the length of the wadding along here with your very tiny scissors, then you can do that also. That creates a better finish on the corners, but obviously for this I need to get you finished. So now we're going to turn out, so put your fingers through into one corner, into two corners, and bring through. You're going to need to press it again once you've done this before you stuff it, because it will look creased. It's a bit fiddly. I'm sorry about all the wind noise, it's really bad wind today out there. So here you go, I'm bringing it out. If you put your fingernail in the corner and hold it with your finger, and then it will create a nice corner. So I will do that, but you can see, I'll show you in a minute, how creased it's become. And that's because I used a cotton. So if you were embroidering onto linen, you'd have the same problem. So in each corner, push it out as much as you can. Try not to use an implement like the end of a pen or a knitting needle, because you'll probably end up making a hole in it. If you feel like you need more point on it, open it up with the end of a pin, a very sort of a fairly large pin, and just tease it out gently, just gently, don't hurry it. So, and wiggle it, but make sure you're through 2 or 3 layers of fabric. So you're putting it in and just teasing it out, but it's going quite deep into those corners. Else you'll end up with, you'll pull a bit and it'll be frayed, and then you'll become dissatisfied with the end result. So that's quite folded, so I obviously didn't get my finger and thumb in there enough, so I'm just gently teasing it out. Now I'm just going to press it quickly, and then I'll show you how to stuff and close, and then that's your pincushion done. Right, so good press. Stuffing you can get at Tina's. I've got mine, it comes in plastic bags, but I put mine in a pillowcase. Here you go. I'm going to pop you up a bit so you see a bit of me. So I pull a piece out, I pull a lump out and do little bits at a time, and the idea of stuffing is to pull it apart so you create pockets of air, stuff into each corner, and you want this as hard as you can get it, because as you can imagine, if you're going to put your pins in, even if you put decorative pins in just for show, you don't want to feel them come out the other side. So like for instance, this one is really hard. It's a really hard pincushion, and that's what you need. So it will take quite a lot of stuffing. Tina's has it. Again, they have it down most shops, and it's just called toy stuffing. And obviously you can get it on the internet as well if you wish, if you're not going out absolutely anywhere. I can understand that at the moment. Now if you don't have any stuffing and you can't get any stuffing, then if you've got a pillow that you no longer use and you know that it's got some sort of polyester fill in it, wash it, dry it, take the cover off or undo the cover, and then do exactly what I'm doing. Pull it apart before you start stuffing. It's clean because you've just washed it and it's yours, so you know where it's been. So that's another idea for you. I'm trying to do this quickly because it's very boring watching someone do something like this. So we're trying to create a smooth look. So pull the stuffing apart like I said, and as hard as you can get. Now in the corners, we're going to get another large pin and tease the stuffing into the corners, but not so you make a hole in the fabric. So can you see I'm really pulling it into the corners and put before, and see how much keeps going in, and I've still got quite a big hole here to fill. I do hope you're enjoying this. I don't want everybody to feel, oh, it's all about sewing, or, you know, just trying to keep people's interest really. Right, so I'll show you what I mean about the corners. I haven't finished stuffing yet. I'm going to put some more in. So this looks a bit pointy in this part here. So I'm going to put my pin. Now I use glass head pins. You see, glass head pins. If you use glass head pins, they won't melt under your iron if you accidentally iron them. If you use the plastic ones, they will. And believe me, it's not a nice sight. So I'm putting my pin in and just teasing that stuffing, moving it as much as I can into the corner, and then re-pushing. See, there's hardly anything in there. Look, it's quite empty. So I'm going to put the needle or pin, because you need a head to hold on. You don't want to do it with the needle, it'll hurt your fingers. And it may bend your pin. This one's being bent, but it, you know, it does help. And then if you get any holes, just finger press it. So there, those two done. I need a bit more stuffing, and then I'll just show you how to close, and then we'll finish the video. Now, somebody had said to me they didn't want to use it as a pincushion, and I said that's absolutely fine. It's up to you. You can make your design into anything you want. So let's see what people do with their design. So can you see how hard that's getting? And if we don't